read a verse, Trista? I might read the verse, yeah. It kind of fits in with everything. Sorry to trouble you.
No, that's not trouble.
Ye anilo premadana karuna prajor Heno Prabhu Kotagela Acharya Thakur Kotagela Acharya Thakur Kahamora Swarup Rupa Kahasanatan Kamora Swarup Rupa Kahasanatan Kahadasaragunata Patita Pavan Kahadasaragu Nanda Patita Pavan Kahamora Bhatta Yuga Kaha Kaviraj Kahamora Bhatta Yuga Kaha Kaviraj Ekakale Gora Gila Gora Nataraj Kakale Gota Gila Gora Nataraj Pasane Kutibo Mata Anale Pashibo Pasane Kutibo Namata Anale Pashibo Goranga Kuneraniri Kotegele Babo Miranidi Kotegele Babo Se Sabha Sangira Sange Ekoilo Vilash Se Sangha Sangira Sange Ekoilo Vilash Se Sangha Payakande Narotamadas Kande Narotamadas Ye anilo premadana Karuna prachur Nilo premadana Pravuna prachur He who brought the treasure of divine love and was filled with compassion and mercy, where is such a personality as Srinivasacharya gone? Where are my Sarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatana? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopala Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottama Das simply weeps. Good morning, everyone. Today's the disappearance of Baladev Vidyabhushana. He's a great acharya in our line. And I'm going to first read what Srila Prabhupada wrote about him in a class that he actually gave, or he said about him, rather. And this was actually, let me find this piece. This was on a verse, and he says, so today is the birthday, well, he's talking about the birthday of Baladev Vidyabhushan. Today is his disappearance day. So Baladev Vidyabhushan, you have seen in my Bhagavad Gita his name, dedicated to Baladev Vidyabhushan, who has written the commentary on Brahma Sutra, Govinda Bhashya. Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan is our Acharya. Baladev Vidyabhushan is a fourth generation Acharya from Lord Chaitanya, fourth or fifth. Anyway, he is one of the Acharyas. Just like Goswamis, they are Acharyas. So Acharya Parampara, disciplic succession. So Baladev Vidyabhushan is also Acharya in this Gaudiya Sampradaya. So is his special gift. Every Acharya means he gives some special things. Previous Acharya has given, and the next Acharya gives something more. That is the system of Acharya. In the incarnation also, just like Lord Buddha incarnation, then Sankaracharya, then Ramanujacharya, then Madhavacharya, then in this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So every Acharya is giving a further lift. So Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan also gave a further lift to the Sampradaya. What is that? Baladev Vidyabhushana wrote commentary on Brahma Sutra, Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra, his Vedanta Sutra commentary is known as Govinda Bhashya, commentary of Govinda. The history is that this Gaudiya Sampradaya did not write any commentary on the Vedanta Sutra because according to our Sampradaya, we accept the Srimad Bhagavatam as the commentary of Vedanta Sutra. So I'm just going to read a little bit. So that's Baladev Vidyabhushan's contribution that we know very well about. He was born in Orissa, in Ramuna, and he was the son of a farmer, Vaishya. From an early age, he learned all about Nyaya, Sanskrit, and logic, and Vaishnava scripture. He accepted sannyas at a very young age, actually, in the Madhva Sampradaya, and stayed at Jagannath Puri, becoming a renowned scholar and traveling around India. At some point in Puri, he met with a disciple of the famous Rasikananda. We've heard of him. He's also in our line. He met a disciple named Sri Radha Damodar Deva Goswami. And then he was actually the one that fully converted Baladev Vidyabhushana to Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Before that, Baladev Vidyabhushan, like scholars do, they tend to take all the scriptures and they try to formulate or, they amalgamate everything into something that has to do with logic, rhetoric, like that. But actually when he met this person in the line of Rasikananda, Radha Damodar Dev, he was converted. He was immediately converted. Everybody was very surprised. And then he was actually already quite old. He was writing and he was doing things, but he was stationary. And Baladev Vidyabhushan was a young man. So one time, and he also advised Baladev Vidyabhushan to get a little bit of association with Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, because he was his contemporary. Radha Damodar Deva, he was his contemporary. He was also older. So at some point, like they used to do this traveling what's it called? Digvijay was traveling around. He wanted to, debate and defeat all of the leading scholars at the time. So Radha Damodar Deva and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur told Baladev Vijayabhushan, you go, you're young, you're well-versed in this, you can defeat this person, go talk to him about Gaudiya Vaishnavism. That was in a time when Gaudiya Vaishnavism, kind of like now really, was in a very small minority. Even though there wasn't nearly as many people and it was in India, it was minimized. And because, for good reason, there had been a lot of sort of pseudo-Vaishnava cults, and they did kind of strange things, and so they were generally minimized. They weren't thought of as being serious scholars or serious persons in transcendentalism in that matter. And he went to this assembly where this person was challenging him, and he was extremely authoritative. He was like fire. He was preaching on the scriptures, but everybody was in shock because who is this person? They had never really heard of him before, this young man, and so they weren't really accepting. So he went and he told his guru that, I'm doing all this preaching, but nobody's accepting. What can I do? And even like the different sampradayas were there because everybody was challenged, the Sri Sampradaya and even the Mayavads. Everybody was challenged to come together, which is kind of nice. They come together, they debate scripture. It's not like today. And the main objection that they had to Baladev Vidyabhushana's commentary or his arguments was that in their mind, there was no definitive scripture. There was no commentary on the Gaudiya Vaishnava, on Vedanta Sutra particularly. There was no commentary. So they were just dismissing. So fortunately, the king of the particular place that Baladev Vidyabhushana, his name was Sadachari Raj, he was actually initiated in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. And he, after seeing all this and seeing the sort of pseudo-defeat of Baladev Vidyabhushan, or really not a defeat, but just their dismissal of him and what he had to say, he sent word to Vrindavan. And there was also an argument there wherein they thought that Srimati Radharani was not to be worshipped with Krishna, was not to be worshipped. So they took Radharani out because, I'm sure that the person, he actually, the king was obliged to remove her from the temple so she wouldn't be harmed or otherwise also dismissed, because that was if something wasn't in the wheelhouse of the rulers, then they just sort of, dismissed it, and sometimes in a very harsh way. So she was removed, and then there was just Govinda. And this was in Jaipur, where Govindaji is, right? So this whole thing took place in Jaipur, all this debates and, that whole area was a hotbed, from Orissa to Jaipur to Vrindavan. And, Jaipur is not that far from Vrindavan. But the king sent message to Vrindavan on what was going on. And then there's another little quote I wanted to read for Prabhupada, because then that's when Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur very strongly, when he got word of that from Baladev Vidyabhushana, he told Baladev to, go in harder, you have to convince. And so he did, and Prabhupada commented on that point, saying the reason that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't make a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, so that's what they were forcing him to do, was because they came through the line of Vyasa to Madhava, who had already made their commentaries. So why should they make theirs? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Goswamis were quite happy to follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. So there wasn't that definitive scripture there then on Vedanta Sutra. So the assembly gave Baladev Vijayabhushana, who was very adamant, they gave him some time. They gave him roughly 2 weeks or 3 weeks to write a commentary. If he was so adamant, then you write that commentary, and then you bring it back and you share with us. And, because they wanted something direct. So Baladev Vijayabhushan took shelter, just, what else can he do? That's 3 weeks to write a whole commentary of Vedanta Sutra. It sounds pretty impossible, right? But he took shelter. He actually started praying to Govindaji, and he just took shelter of Govindaji in the temple, and he paid his obeisances. And that night, the Lord appeared to him in a dream and told him, "You just write, and I will dictate to you what to write, and therefore no one will be able to refuse to accept it." So he was enlivened, and he had a renewed strength, and he began to write. And within just a few days only, he was able to write this whole Govinda Bhasha, Sri Govinda Bhasha, because it was coming from Govindaji. May he who so mercifully and munificently was kind towards me and bestowed his favor by ordering me in a dream to write down his own commentary, which he would compose and which attained such renown amongst the learned circles that they bestowed upon me the title of Vijayabhushan. This is later. May that dear friend of Srimati Radharani, who holds him dearer than her own life, be glorified. May that Sri Govinda be glorified. So he brought that commentary and came into the assembly of the Ramanandi scholars who were waiting. And then he read the commentary, and all of the scholars there were speechless. Some even lost control of their bodily functions because they were speechless. They were out of their body, and they couldn't believe it, that he actually, gave this amazing commentary that no one could practically understand, and no one could refute. No one could deny it. So that was announced that he had written this, because then too it wasn't like now where if you one-up somebody, or as Prabhupada put it, you give them a lift. They weren't going to try to smash it, even if it was correct. That's the case in Kali Yuga now. If somebody gives good information to, Prabhupada said if you tell the truth or good instruction to a fool, he'll ignore it, or he'll make it worse. So he was then, after that, known as Vidyabhushana. Before that, he was just Baladev Das. Because he was sort of the victor in that whole assembly. And he installed the deity of Vijay Gopal at that temple where he was at. It's in Jaipur. And there was always the worship of Radharani going on after that as well. And then the Ramanandis and others decided to take initiation from Baladev Vijayabhushan. He was so learned. He was the most learned at the time, scholar at the time. Yes, and he got his certificate he got his Vijay Patra, his certificate of victory. And he also wrote other commentaries. That was his, of course, main commentary, but he went off of some other scriptures as well, including Sri Jiva Goswami's Satsandarbha. So the other commentaries are the Siddhanta Ratna, the Vedanta Shamantaka, Premaya Ratnavali, Siddhanta Darpana, Aishvarya Kadambani, Sahitya Kaumudi, Chanda Kaustuba, Kavya Kaustuba, Bhagavad Gita Bhasha, Vaishnavandini Tika, the 10 Upanishads, commentaries on each, the Tattva Sandarbha, Stanamala, Gopal Tapani, Vishnu Sahasranam, and Lagu Bhagavatamrita, and Nataka Chandrika, and Shamananda Sadhaka. We have a few of these that we can access, but not all of them. So he was he went on to be a very prolific writer, and his mood, obviously, he was firmly fixed in the same line as Lord Chaitanya with the all of the same attributes. So he's perfectly in our sampradaya as far as taking instruction from, and that's why Prabhupada refers to him. There's probably maybe 25 or 30 references to Baladeva Vijayabhushan in Prabhupada's a lot of conversations, so he refers to him quite a lot. So he's one of our richest acharyas who have given us a lift. And today is also the appearance, it's the Gangara Mela, and it's also the appearance of Ganga Mata Goswamini. She was actually the daughter of, her name was Sachi, she was the daughter of a king, so she came from royalty, but from a very young age she really didn't have any interest in taking any of the responsibilities or marrying strategically to keep the king in the family. So she just wanted to worship the Lord. She wanted to worship Govinda. And so her parents, left her alone in that way. They allowed that because that was acceptable at the time. And at some point when her father left, she ruled the kingdom, but renounced it to find a bona fide spiritual master. And then she met Sri Haridas Pandit, who was a guru in Vrindavan, and began performing very devout bhajan to Govinda, Lord Govinda. She really didn't eat, she sleep, she really didn't have she wasn't really in the bodily platform. And she divested herself of her royalty and her ego by putting on just rags. She put on rags and went house to house begging alms to everyone in Vraja. And they were, everybody in the village was astonished because they saw this woman as a princess at some point, very regal. Her guru told her to take friendship or association from another disciple named Lakshmi Priya Devi Dasi, and she chanted 300,000 names a day of the holy names. That's 192 rounds. So then Ganga Mata went to her, and her name was Sachi at that time. She went to her and she associated greatly with her and circumambulated Govardhan Hill and worshipped Krishna. Then she went to, by her guru's order, to the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and she established, some worship there. So she was worshiping the deity, doing puja, and she was giving these amazing discourses on Srimad Bhagavatam, amazing. So much so that the king of the village and people from all around, devotees from all around, and just regular persons from all around would come and hear. She attracted listeners from all areas. And how she got her name, Ganga Mata, was on this day. She was residing in Jagannath Puri, and she bathed in the Ganges, as is the custom on this day. That night, the Ganges flowed from the lotus feet of Lord Jagannath and came to her ashram where she was staying. And then she went into the water willingly, and she floated to the lotus feet of Jagannath Swami inside the temple. After unlocking the doors the next morning, the pujaris were surprised to find her inside the temple. Thinking that she was a thief, they immediately put Sachi Devi in jail. Seeing this mistake, Lord Jagannath appeared simultaneously in a dream to both the king of Puri and the head pujari, ordering them to release Sachi Devi and to take initiation from her. From then on, she became famous as Ganga Mata Goswamini. I've heard a lot about this personality because Mother Krishna Priya used to talk about her a lot. That was one of her heroes, actually. Ganga Mata Goswamini. So today is her appearance day, and in both of those cases, and I'm just going to go ahead and read, it's number 3, right, Prabhu? Number 3? Yeah. I'm going to go into the Bhagavatam because this kind of brings the point forward about both of the personalities we just discussed. So this is the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter 75, text 3. Shri Bararaya Niruvacha Pita Mahashaite Yagne Rajasuya Mahatmana Bandava Paricharyayam Tashyashan Prema Bandhana Shri Bhadarani Nirvacha Pita Mahashaite Yaje Rajasuya Mahatmana Bandava Paricharyayam Dayashan Prema Bandhana. Devotees? Sri Bhadarani Ruvacha Pita Mahashyate Agne Rajasuye Mahatmana Bandava Paricharyayam Dashasan Prema Bandhana. Shri Vadanayani Ruvacha Masayayane Rajasuya Mahatma Padava Parichayayam Tashasan Prema Bandhana. Shri Bhadarayani Ruvacha Pita Mahashaya Devade Rajasuya Mahatmana Bandhavada Chayayam Dashan Prema Bahandanam. Sri Bhadarayani said, I'm just doing the translation, at the Rajasuya sacrifice of your saintly grandfather, his family members, bound by their love for him, engaged themselves in humble services on his behalf. Purport: King Yudhishthira did not force his relatives to accept different tasks at the sacrifice. Rather, out of their love for him, they volunteered for such duties. Amargyana Tenamanda Shaginanjana Shalakaya Chakshur Uminitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishnuvidaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Sunivadi Pashyata Deshatani Namo Vishnuvidaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimate Devi Krishna Dasko Swami Niti Namine Namam Sanakashaya Prabhupada Prayate Sudita Sudini Samyamta Shavaki. So just really quick, here's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, friends bound by ropes of affection to the king engaged in services at the sacrifice. By their own free will, according to their liking, they did activities, not under instruction by Yudhishthira. And Jiva Goswami comments, Sukadev calls Yudhishthira grandfather in order to give Parikshit joy. Friends who were bound to Yudhishthira by affection were there to perform various services at the sacrifice of Yudhishthira, who had an excellent nature, Mahatmanaha. So we see in all these instances, I was thinking regarding Baladev Vijabhushan. So he's there, and he very humbly wanted to serve his guru. You know, he very humbly wanted to serve the line, the acharyas. He He was, as Prabhupada eloquently put it in the beginning, he wanted to lift up the line. He wanted to lift up everyone, lift his friends, lift his associates, and certainly lift the thinking at the time of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, for sure. And so he voluntarily did these things, you know. I mean, of course, the guru says, do this, do that, but just because the guru says doesn't mean the disciple will always do. So if the disciple does do, then that is voluntary, and that is out of love. That's out of affection. That's a reciprocation, you know, a loving, it's a loving exchange, actually, to, you know, be in that position to serve someone that you love or something that you love, you know. Baladev Vijayabhushan was serving his, you know, beloved Govinda, his beloved Guru, and the scriptures, you know. He knew full well that the Srimad Bhagavatam was the commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Unfortunately, no one would believe him yet, although he was empowered in that way because of his deep, his deep love and understanding, and also his deep desire to contribute. You know, that's what we're seeing here. Same with Ganga Mata Goswamini. You know, she really had no desire to be selfish, you know. I mean, if you're born into royalty, you know, you're a princess and you're assured to receive a kingdom, so many riches, a very opulent and fantastic lifestyle of privilege and elevation. I mean, 98% of the people are going to take that option rather than putting on rags and begging alms and not caring about oneself so much. That's a very selfless position. And she was also doing that out of love. She was doing that out of love. She found a guru. You know, it said she went right from renouncing the kingdom. She renounced her kingdom to find a guru. You know, she didn't renounce her kingdom because she was because she didn't want it, but she didn't renounce it because she had to. She just wanted, and she wanted to find a spiritual master to guide her a little further on her journey toward Govindaji. Notice both of these, they're both in love with Govinda. And finally, all of the friends, associates, you know, we heard when the Rajasuja sacrifice was commencing that everyone from the kingdom showed up. All of the Shudras, Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, Brahmanas, everybody, all the divisions or the parts of the kingdom, and all of the followers of this very magnanimous King Yudhishthira, who was a very well-liked and respected personality for his dealings with others. So this is like, you know, in their estimation, he was a friend. He was a friend. He was somebody that they just wanted to spontaneously come forward. They wanted to help. That's our position. I was thinking that, you know, even in our, you know, infinitesimal existence, you know, we're not doing as much as Baladev Vijayabhushan or others, but we rely so heavily on the lift or the upliftment, the love, the care, just the dynamic of our friends, our associates, you know. Prabhupada cautions us so many times, must always stay in the association of the devotees. We must always stay in the association. Because why? When we get together, and it's like sticks in a stream, you know, they all get kind of together, they get, you know, tied up. They're bound up together. We're all packed up together, Prabhupada would say. We're all packed up together. The Vaishnavas are packed up together, and we're all trying to make a difference. We're all trying to love God and serve God and love Prabhupada and serve Prabhupada and do all these things, but we practically can't do it by ourselves. We can't. No one can do any. no one can do anything by themselves. You know, we're not Krishna. No one's Krishna. Even the trillionaires on the planet. You know, they're not Aptakama and they're not Swarat. They can't manifest what they want without the help of, you know, in some cases, tens of thousands or you know, hundreds of thousands of persons. You know, maybe they're not friends, maybe they're getting paid, but they still need that help. The real joy is when you show up for your friends, associates, your guru. I'm sure everybody has experienced this. I was talking to somebody yesterday about the danger of paid service. And I actually tried it once because I was asked to and received money for a service, but money and service are diametrically opposed. You can't take money and that is service. It's like rasa bas. You can't put it together. You can't put those two things together. And I was, you know, I hear about in other temples, under other communities around the world, you know, people are on salaries, people are getting, you know, paid pujaris, which really blows my mind. I can't even understand that. My lesson when I worked I worked in the BBT for a little bit as, you know, in a position, and I got some money. It wasn't like a salary, but even any money is not conducive to actually pouring out your heart in something. You know, a service, if it's really coming from the heart, if it's spontaneous and you want to contribute to whether it be you know, your guru's mission, or your friend is moving, or you know, you want to bring happiness and joy to others with that service, right? You want to, it's a loving exchange. Service is a loving exchange. If you have loving exchanges with Krishna, you know, that's obviously the topmost, but in practice of that, we're trying our best to have loving exchanges with other Vaishnavas. You know, we're serving the Vaishnavas, Vaishnava Seva. You know, Vaishnava Seva, and also serving just the Jiva souls through so many ways, whether it be prasadam, going out on Harinam, you know, a kind word, you know, a little bit of help. I don't know if anybody has this experience, but you might actually just you know, sometimes there's somebody in the store and they can't reach on the top shelf to get something, and those who are taller, you know, they look at you with, you know, hoping eyes that you'll get that item for them. And then when you do, they're so grateful, you know, they're so grateful. And even that tiny little spark, that brings so much joy, right? It brings so much joy to our hearts to see one person, one jiva happy, one animal happy. Why do people feed the cat? Because the cat, they know the cat's hungry, but the cat looks like he's generally appreciative, you know. People can appreciate these little pieces of giving, you know, giving to others. And whether it be Baladev Vijayabhushana's amazing, you know, commentary and delivery that kind of cemented Gaudiya Vaishnavism as an authentic, you know, very real philosophy at that time, you know. He kind of drove it into a funnel, because when the assembly heard that this wonderful commentary came forth from this personality, they were dumbstruck, because, you know, they knew it was absolutely spot on, right? We have those experiences when somebody tells us something and it just goes right from that channel, from the ear, right into the heart. I think it's called the Amrit Rasayana Katha. Just goes right from the ear to the heart, and then it strikes you and you're like, yes, that's true, I can understand it. I realize that now. It's like by osmosis. It's a magical way. So, you know, he's doing those things, and Gangamata Goswamini is showing such an example of austerity, taking a poverty vow. to serve her Lord, to just do her bhajan, and relying fully on Krishna. Relying fully on Krishna. You know, that's the thing. When someone turns the face to Krishna, you know, as all these people in the Rajasuja sacrifice did, all of the you know, cream rises to the top. All the impurities sink to the bottom. You know, we saw what happened to Shishupala and some of his associates. You know, if you're against Krishna, if you're against transcendence, if you're against divinity, if you're against his will, the Lord's will, it's not going to work out well. I mean, we've seen so many instances of that, the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's actually something when I read sometimes the news or hear about something going on. I was laughing with, Ishwar and Sundu the other day about, this is just a little diversion, but you know, so much AI is going around. People are creating beautiful things with AI, and also some funny things, and satirical on common, you know, worldviews. And sometimes there's, you know, funny things that come out of, it seems like the supervillains of the world, AKA the oligarchs or the trillionaires, billionaires, people who think that they think they're in control. They think they have all this power. Oh, I have $1 trillion, I'm in so much power, you know. And sometimes when they say things and you can just see it for what it is, it's just absolutely absurd. What they're doing is absurd because it's never going to yield any lasting results. It's not, in history, it's not going to be viewed as the way toward God. Like we're hearing about these persons, you know, Gangamanta, Goswamini, who, you know, they're relatively obscure to everybody in the world, right? Baladev, nobody's heard of these people. But they're the ones that we're still hearing about because they have actually turned their face towards the Lord, and they're trying to push everybody, help bring everybody forth. You know, with a little help from our friends, we can help bring everybody up. We can help uplift, push forward towards Krishna's lotus feet. It's like the waves, you know, trying to churn that love, that reciprocation, you know, that loving exchanges, you know, in the association of others, trying to push that forward and push everybody toward the Lord's lotus feet. Not just like we see now, they think they're doing it alone. All these selfish persons who are trillionaires and billionaires and big leaders, they think they're doing it alone. They think they're in power. They think that they're going to be victorious, but they're not. They're not, because history proves that they're not. So we don't have anything to worry about in that respect. You know, it's quite comical. And for the rest of us, you know, just staying very humble. I'm ready to put on rags if I'm going to stay in the, if I, you know, want to stay in the association of the temple, you know. I'm not really wanting to go out and try to seek fortune and fame. You know, I think that's the case for us. You know, we're just trying to simply come here in a humble way, chant, connect to the Lord, do our devotional service, try to help others in whatever little way we can, and just remember these personalities as our guides and our beacons, where we can actually take little bits and be inspired by their dealings in the world, and we can extract ourselves from those dealings which aren't conducive to those goals of ours. So we're going to, I'm sorry, I should have left time for reflections. Greet the deities now. Thank you very much. All glories to the associates of the Lord. All glories to Vaishnava Seva. All glories to Sri Sri Radha Golokananda. And all glories to Srila Prabhupada and our parampara.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam
Yaharane kate gere papa dure jai nekate gere papa dure jai he mona doyala prabhu keba kotapai keba kotapai Gangara parasa hoile paschate pavan rasa hoile paschate pavan dashane pavitra koro he tomaragon he tomara haristane aparare tare harina Tomara hridaye sada Govinda Vishram hridaye sada Govinda Vishram Govinda kohe namora Vaishnava paran Prati janme gori asha charanera duli me gori asha charanera duli naratame koro daya apanaraboli He baro karuna koro Vaishnava Goshai Patita Pavana Doma Bina Kehonai Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jaya Radha Goloka Nanda, Jaya Radhe Radhe, Radha Goloka Nanda, Jaya Radhe Radhe. O Vaishnava Goswami, please be merciful to me now. There is no one except you who can purify the fallen souls. Where does anyone find such a merciful personality by whose mere audience all sins go far away? One becomes purified after bathing in the waters of the sacred Ganges many times, but just the sight of you purifies the fallen souls. This is your great power. The holy name delivers one who has offended Lord Hari, but if one offends you, there is no means for deliverance. Your heart is always the resting place of Lord Govinda, and Lord Govinda says, the Vaishnavas are in my heart. I desire the dust of your holy feet in every birth I may take. Please consider Narottama yours and be kind upon him. Narottama Das, Ki Jai. Vaishnava Goshai, Ki Jai. Chito Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitarinam
Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Bharti Murdanam Pratipatan Paramadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Paramvijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahudan Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapitani Amitas Smaranena Kala Etadrishita Vagripa Bhagavan Mamapi Dordaiva Midrishami Ajjanina Anuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amani Namana Dana Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Ribayata Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashim Vachintaya Nayanam Gadashu Daraya Varanam Gad Gadarudaya Gira Pula Karnishitam Vabhukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Bhavashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishava Padamritam Panastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatatava Vidadatulam Pato Mat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I've fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy names? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment, 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Sri Shastastra Ki Jai. Thank you so much, Radharangani Mataji, for dressing the deities. So nice. Sri Sri Radha Golokananda really love it when their servants are taking care of them so nicely. And downstairs, I'm not sure who's in the kitchen. Is it Dairotic? I don't know. So thank you so much to the ladies downstairs making prasadam. And thank you for a nice class by Leela Shakti. And also another reminder now, it's a big weekend, lots of things happening, but we're going to have Harinam Sankirtan in Durham at 5 Points on Saturday afternoon between 5 and 7. It's going to be really hot, but you know, this is the austerity we go through to give the holy name to as many as we can, at least once a week. So 5 to 7 at 5 Points this Saturday. Please come for Harinam Sankirtan.